Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to all the men and women who have served in the military. Today, I want to recognize this very special veteran I got to meet on my past trip this summer to Vietnam, Mr. Manus Campbell. He served in the U.S. Marine Corps and was deployed to Vietnam at 19 years old and fought in one of the most fierce battles area in the Assau Valley. Has overcome significant amount of danger and loss and survival. And now today he is thriving amazingly in Hoi An. And it's a beautiful story of how one can transform oneself from a place of all that is painful and difficult to a place of peace and healing. And I am very grateful to have Mr. Campbell sharing his personal story through our conversation in Hoi An. I met Mr. Campbell through Go Lê Lee's introduction. And during my trip to Vietnam this past summer, I happened to be in Hoi An, and she said, "You need to meet Mr. Campbell and talk to him." So, very much, I think you would find this story amazing in what he had to endure, what he had to overcome, including being exposed to Agent Orange and all the firefights and the post-war healing process that he will share about. So, hope you enjoy today's talk about his life. I'm in Hoi An, Old Quarter, walking to meet a Vietnam vet that Go Lê Lee made contact for me to connect with and talk to. He's lived here, and we're just gonna chat a little bit about his history and how things have been. Very interested in hearing how the healing process has been for being here through all the years since the end of the war. And it's been a remarkable experience for me, making all the connections through her introduction back here and the people that I've met and the stories I've heard. I'd love to share, put in context of 50 years later, how things have been for all the lives involved that I've met, and just thankful and grateful to make these connections. So we'll say more later. She said, "You're in Hoi An today, right now. You need to talk to Mr. Manus Campbell." I was like, "I'll make it happen. Yes, go." So,
Yeah.
can you tell me a bit about, how, I don't know, just naturally, what you'd like to tell me about how your experience, what led to, your time in service, what led you to being here, and then we'll just kind of
Yeah.
go from there. Yeah.
I graduated high school. As soon as I turned 18, I got my draft notice.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the Marines. I was going to join for 2. The guy said, "You're going to go to Vietnam." I said, "Okay, give me 3." I went to Camp Pendleton. I went to North Carolina. I was there for a few months, and then I got more orders to come to Vietnam. I landed in Da Nang in June of '67. I wasn't even 19 and a half. And from there, the next day, I flew to Phu Bai. I was assigned to Alpha 14 combat platoon, and from there we stayed just north of Hue for a few months. Got into one of the worst ambushes we walked into. It changed my life. And then we started going north. We went to, they were building a base for Quang Tri. And I was point man for a whole battalion. And they held up to come and tell me some information. My sergeant tripped a 500-pound bomb that didn't go off. I read him the riot act. 4 hours later, we come to a stream. I hold it up and I tell him to come up. I'm not going to go across the bridge. I'm going through the water. He trips a grenade. He blows up the guy behind me, himself, and 2 other guys. So, and then we went to the DMZ. We were in Can Tien, which was the most northern position in Vietnam. And the joke was, the rumor mill, we were going to Ashore Valley or to Khe Sanh. This was during the siege, right? It wasn't bad enough where we were. We were getting 2,000 rounds incoming every day. We were getting probes. You could see on a clear day, you could see across the clearing, and you could see them walking around. I mean, so, I should have died 100 times. I went back to the States. I would put my beer in the freezer. I would put my bottle of gin in the freezer. I remember my friends say, let's go out drinking. I would drink a half, this much of gin. And then we'd go out drinking all night. And went back to North Carolina, was put on a ship, and we went to the Mediterranean for 6 months. And it was just a drinking fest. All the guys were vets from Vietnam. So I survived that, and May 69, I was discharged. I painted houses, collected unemployment, and drank beer. And then my unemployment ran out. I had to get a job. I worked for UPS. And then I was in a bar one night, and two guys come in. I went to high school with both of them. They were both New Jersey State Troopers, and they talked me into joining the state police. And 1,500 men took the test. They accepted 84, and 44 graduated. And the next thing I know, I'm a trooper, and I'm wearing a bulletproof vest and carrying a gun, which I know how to do. I did it here, right? So after 10 years, I herniated a disc investigating an accident on the Parkway. And I was out of work for 6 months. And it changed my life. I became a vegetarian. I started meditating. I went into therapy. I looked at leaving the state police. It was so negative. In fact, after 6 months when I went back, I was just hit full blast with the negativity of the job. Anyway, I did my 19 years, and I decided that was it. I retired on a disability because I hurt my back. And then I was married in 70, like maybe 3 years after I came home. That lasted 5 years. We were both alcoholic. We would fight, and then I met my second wife in '80, and she was on a spiritual path. She was a psychologist, and so our journey together was about getting well, right? So we were in couple therapy together. I was in individual therapy. At the time, I was still a trooper, and I'm riding around on the midnight shift, and I'm listening to talk radio ABC, and there's a guy from New York, clinical psychologist, Vietnam veteran, stationed in Saigon, had a theology PhD. He got his clinical psychology and started treating vets. He wrote this book called Healing from the War. Next day, I go to Barnes & Noble, I get the book. 2 days I finish, I pick up the phone, I call him, he answers the phone, we talk for 20 minutes, and he says to me, do I know you? I saw him 3 days later, and he opened up all these doors and windows for me about, things that, I felt guilty about, not being, thinking I was a failure. I could have been a hero. In this ambush, I could have held these guys that were dying. I could have done first aid. All these shoulds haunted me, And so anyway, I started meditation in 1977. I learned transcendental meditation. I didn't even tell my wife I was going to learn it. I learned it on a weekend. I practiced on my own. And then my psychiatrist recommended this Insight Meditation Society. It's in Barre, Massachusetts. It was started by Joseph Goldstein, Jack Kornfield, Sharon Salzberg, who were monks and nuns in the East and went back and they started this. So I did my first 10-day retreat in '86. It was the last time I had a drink. In August, it'll be 39 years. And so all these retreats, my wife and I would do 2 and 3 retreats. We had a meditation group in our house on Friday nights. And I realized that if I could feel the physical pain and deal with the physical pain, I could deal with the emotional pain. So the physical pain was unbearable. I mean, I used to describe it as lava in my bones, you know, burning. But it was a way to focus. I could focus on that pain, and I could get what do you call it, concentration from that. And so I retired from the state police. I had a job in security. I got fired. I got 6 months employment, and my wife said, "What are you going to do now for 6 months?" I said, "I'm going to IMS." So I signed up for 6-month meditation retreat. I went there, and I started having this flashback of this string, this ambush. I'm saying, what the hell? I dealt with this. I cried about barrels of tears about this. So I went to my in-residence teacher, and she said, "Oh, maybe you'd like to talk to the man that's coming tonight." He was a monk for 20 years in Thailand. Before that, he was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. I said, "Yes, I want to talk to him." So we were born like 2 weeks apart. I got permission once a week. I would go to a Thai restaurant and we would talk. But this ambush memory persisted. And then this guy came, Larry Rosenberg. He lives in Cambridge, Mass. He was a Korean monk. He was an NYU professor. Went to Korea to learn meditation. Became a monk for a while. Then he switched to Vipassana. And he became a teacher in Cambridge. And he was a combat veteran of World War II. And he said to me, you know, veterans are the hardest people to work with. They're identified with the warrior, with the soldier. You know, they wear all the gear that symbolizes who they are. You take that off of them, who are they, right? So he said to me, the judgment about having fear is worse than the fear. So as a man, you're not allowed to be afraid. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to admit it. And so I allowed it to come when I realized that's what I was running from. My father was very fearful, and I said, I'm not going to be like him. I refused to be like him. So I did all these crazy things to prove I wasn't afraid. And that's what Arthur Regendorf in this book, or I don't know if it's in the book, but he told me, he said, every veteran should go back in their mind and find out why they went to war. And for me, it was about my father, my relationship. I wanted to prove to him that I was not afraid, that I was a man, that he should respect me, right? And so anyway, after a week of watching this image, I made peace with it. I realized all the truths that were in it that I was holding against myself. I lit candles. I did a ceremony in my mind for all the dead, both sides, for myself. And I went to see him, and he said, look at you, look how far you've come, you know, it's unbelievable. I went back to my room and I meditated for 1 hour, and all the images of Vietnam came to me. Come and go, come and go. No pushing away, no fear. So I see him at the T station the next day, and he said, man, it's just like the movie Gone with the Wind.
Beautiful.
But there were other teachers during that period that would say to me, if you can feel it, you can heal it. And that's what, for me, is the key to all trauma. I don't know if you read that book, Facing the Tiger or something, Levine, I think his name is. And the trauma and the fear, and it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, but you can deal with it little by little, and it becomes less and less. And so that was 89, or no, not 89. That was 97. I went home. When I was there, I had a month to go in my retreat. I got a Dear John letter from my wife: when you get home, move out. I said, okay. And so I started anew. I had no money. I went to my mother's. I lived with my mother for 6 months. I got a job. I got back on my feet. I got my own apartment. I started having meditation groups in my house, and I started my life over again. And then in the same monk who I met in the pagoda monastery, who was my Thai buddy. He calls me up one day. He says, I'm doing a one-day retreat in Manhattan. You have to come. You got to come. I go. I meet him. He said, we're going to lunch, just you and me. Go for lunch. And he says, you absolutely have to file for PTSD with the VA. I said, oh, he said, make me a promise. So I did. And so I filed. I was still working at the time, and they gave me 6 months. And I went to my counselor, and he said, of course you're working. They're not going to give you anything higher. I said, okay. So I quit my job, and I appealed my thing. And the day I was supposed to go for the interview, the psychologist was not in the VA in East Orange. So I had to do a video with a guy in somewhere out west. And so I got 100%. And, you know, and 2006, I did a meditation retreat in Bodh, India, with this guy who I used to sit with, Christopher Titmus, in Massachusetts. He used to tell a story about this retreat in India for 3 weeks. And it like planted a seed in my mind. And so in 2006, I went. My girlfriend at the time was going to go with me, and she said, I'm going to get my second master's, you go. So I went. It was the first time I had traveled alone since the war. And so I'm on this retreat. I start doing walking meditation, and I feel this time to go back to Vietnam. That's what came to me. 9 months later, my girlfriend and I flew to Saigon. We came to Da Nang. We went to My Lai. We went to Hue. In Hue, I get up early. I go down the alleyway to go to the internet shop. I walk in, the machine's warming up. I'm looking at the map of the DMZ, and the young woman sees me, and she said, "Do you want to go there?" And I said, "No, I'm about peace." I was there when it was live. No, thank you. So she said, "Are you a Buddhist?" And I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "I'm a Buddhist too. Would you like to meet my teacher?" She was a teacher in the same pagoda as Thich Nhat Hanh when they were kids. And so I said, "Yeah." So she calls her up. She said, "We're going." We get in the car, and I get my girlfriend. We go to the pagoda. We meet the nuns. They cook this amazing lunch. And then we go next door where there's an orphanage with 70 kids. Not all orphans, but some. And so my girlfriend and I, we go to the big C. We fill up a taxi cab with all kinds of stuff for the school and the kids. We go back the next day. I give the nun my camera, and I said, "Keep sending me photographs." So I started sending her money. I was sending her $300 a month from the US. And then So I went on this travel tour. I was every year I would go to India and Laos, Cambodia, and so the nun kept asking me to come back, right? And I was doing a meditation retreat in California. I sat down at this big table. There was no one there. And I hear this guy come in and settle down next to me, and I hear Vietnam in my head. I don't know why. And the guy says to me, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to Vietnam in 6 weeks. I sponsor an orphanage there." And he says to me, "Really? So tell me about it." So I tell him. He said, "I'm coming with you." So sure enough, August 2009, we go away together. And we lived together for a month, and we researched the school. He built my website. He was a great photographer, videographer, and we told the story of the school on the website. And at that point, I decided I was going to move away and work in that school. So in September, I went back to the U.S. Me and my brother started 501c3. Helping invisible victims of war. And so my sister was on the board, and so I worked for 4 months, getting the word out, raising money. I got a lot of money. People were inspired by my story. And in January 2010, I moved away. And I lived there for 3 years. I got pneumonia twice. 2011, I got pneumonia going back to the US for a wedding. Spent a week in the hospital. Couldn't leave. I missed my flight. Couldn't come home. I was still sick. I stayed with my mom. My mom got sick. My mom spent 2 months in the hospital with me holding her hand. I was there in hospice when she took her last breath and breathed it on my face. And everyone said to me, "Oh my God, your mother's old. You're gonna miss her." I spent more time in 3 months with my mom than my siblings who lived there with her. So it was a gift, a gift, a gift. Wow. So, so in 2012, shit fell apart at the school. One teacher was being my favorite student with a bamboo stick. My girlfriend at the time at the school witnessed it and told me, and I brought it to the nun. They fired my girlfriend, and I said, "Okay, I'm done." So I left, but I was heartbroken. This was my life. I had 70 kids that loved me to death. So I went to the nun and I said, "Look, I'd like to come back. I want some changes, blah, blah, blah." We had a meeting, take my girlfriend back to work for, apologize, whatever. So they promised. I went back to school on Monday. On Friday, she came to school at the end of school and she said, "Manus, can you give me $700 a month?" And I said, "I will think about it." And I never went back. So I knew it was the universe was saying, it's time to go. It's time to go. And so I got pneumonia in 2012, and I flew to Phu Quoc to sit on the island and breathe some fresh air. And then I traveled Thailand, Bali, Indonesia. I came back to my house, which was built for me next to the owner's mother in a village. And when I went back in, the next morning I had pneumonia from the mold that was captured. So I told my landlord I'm leaving at the end of the month. It was November or the end of the year. And I came here and I had some friends here. I got invited to Thanksgiving dinner at my American friends. And then I said, this is where I'm going to live. So in January 2013, I moved here. And that's how I met Laylee, because I had known about her and her work. And so I contacted her, and I was looking for recommendations for charities I could help. And then I finally met her in person at the U Cafe, a Japanese cafe. She was doing a cooking class. And so we hit it off, and we started helping a pagoda in Da Nang. Got like 200 kids. You know, they dropped the infant off in a box, cardboard box. So we had a fundraiser here, and she was living in Da Nang at the time. And I said, "Move into my house. I got 4 bedrooms. You can have the first floor." So she moved in along with her sister and her aunt or something. She ended up living there 3 or 4 months. And then one day she said, "Have you ever been to Myanmar?" And I said, "No." So we went to Myanmar.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm only minutes from there. Yeah.
Myanmar,
Miramar.
Burma.
Oh, Myanmar. I'm sorry. I thought you meant Miramar Air Base. I was like, okay,
That's
Myanmar.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you went there.
Yeah. Yeah, we went there for 10 days.
Beautiful.
And then, so I helped. One of the first ones was Chia. Chia's Hope in Action. They have like 10 to 15 disabled kids. They do speech pathology. They do, it's all volunteer. They have Australian groups come and teach the staff. So I give them money every month for the running of the operation. And became very good friends with them. And I take photographs for the swimming. They have swimming every Tuesday in Hoi An. Disabled kids in the pool there's never one smile missing. It's amazing. And then this American friend who does a Buddhist tour, she asked me to give a talk about my work here in Vietnam. She invited this woman, Linda Byrne, who also has a charity called Children's Education Foundation. She's from Australia. She has over 200 girls that she only sponsors education for girls. She thinks it's a better investment of the money. They're going to become mothers. They're going to have their kids also go to school. And so we hit it off, and I started sponsoring girls. I now have 9 girls I sponsor with her. And this year, I just had 3 students graduate from university who I started helping when I was in primary school, when they were in primary school. And so it's amazing. I mean, I used to go and document with film where they live. It's too exhausting. It's 8 hours in the heat. So I stopped about a year and a half ago. I miss it because it's a real education. It's a real education. And then the other one is I met them on that Thanksgiving weekend. My American friend said, Chuck and I are going to Kian Foundation. It's a new school in Dien Mon for disabled kids. Do you want to go? Okay. So I go there, and now I sponsor 6 kids there since 2012. And Jackie's amazing. She started it. She's from the UK. She got it's not the knighthood, but it's the MBE. It's the next one down from she got it from the prince. And then I just helped a school on the same street as Kian that has Hearing and Beyond School. So it's mute and deaf. I helped them build a new school. So, you know, it's, for me, I always say, when you give, you receive. And I didn't, when I was in Wei, I had never had a pregnancy in 2 marriages in the US. In Wei, my girlfriend, I got her pregnant in Wei. And this is funny, because I moved from Wei to Hoi An when I got pneumonia. But she used to come and visit me on weekends. And she sends me a message, and I'm at the coffee shop, and it says, "M, have baby inside 6 weeks. Translation, please." So I said, "You have to come here." So on the weekend, she came down, and I said, there's 100 years between the two of us. We can't have a kid. So I said, give me another week. Let me think about it. She goes home. She calls me on Monday from the doctor's office. You want this baby or not? The most incredible 3 months of my life. I was speechless. Finally, I said, go home. So she kept it. And after 3 months, it aborted on its own. No arms, no legs. So I knew I was exposed to Agent Orange, right? But I, blocked that out. Blocked that out. I didn't want to know. But I knew when I moved here because there's a Project Renew in Dang Ha. They take the bombs and the mines out of the ground, and they had to book every flight in the Vietnam War that had spraying, where they went and who was underneath when they sprayed. And that's when I, got the second connection that it really happened. And so I said, okay, I'm helping all these kids. I feel like I got 100 kids as kids. And then in 2019 in the summer, I take photography. So I go into the old town. And there's not a young, but a woman in her 40s wearing a white outside, very beautiful with a hat and the whole thing. And I start taking a photograph, and she says to me, "Oh, you're so lovely. I have a good friend in Da Nang. She wants to learn English. Can you help her?" So she took my Facebook information. A few days go by, I get this message from this woman. So we start to chat, and she says, "I'm starting to have feelings for you." So we go to lunch at the Pullman in Da Nang, and her sister-in-law works in the restaurant. And I told her one of my favorite songs is "Stairway to Heaven."
Uh-huh.
And she pulls out her phone and she starts playing that song during lunch. And then she invites me to go to the beach, and we share, 2 lounge chairs and hold hands the whole time. So, I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to even be in a relationship. And so the universe, her parents want to know why she's not at home, where's she going? And her sister-in-law at dinner said she met this nice American man and blah, blah, blah. So they want to meet me. So I go there. The father spends 5 minutes with me, and he goes. The mother comes home. My wife wasn't there. I went on my own. And the wife comes home. They have a meeting with their daughter, and they say, "If you go with him, we never talk to you again. If you want to stay friends with us, then you stay here." She's got at the time, she's got a son, 6, 7 years old. So you have 4 days to decide. So on the 4th day, she said, "I'm leaving. I'm moving to Hoi An." "Oh, okay. We still be friends." But the thing is, I'm older than both of them. The father said, "How's he going to take care of you? He has no money. He doesn't have a job." And then after time, they become friends on Facebook. Their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles in the U.S. start saying, look what he's doing. Look at how he's helping Vietnam. And
That's
so they were won over, and now the mother loves me. The father, I don't think he loves anyone. So so we got married during COVID. COVID came. There was a break. We had the reception in a local place. Her family came, her relatives came, and she was happy. Her mother was happy. She had a kid, and she got to get married. So it was good. It was difficult with the son. He's got a lot of issues. He has no relationship with his own father. He don't want to know him. He won't even talk to him. His father was sponsoring him or giving him $100 a month until COVID. But, I think he's very troubled by that. And, now he can speak English very well. He translates for me, and that's helped the relationship. But he's 11 in January, going on 15. He's a high-level teenager, and he don't want to be told what to do. And he's found gaming, which is troublesome because we had him in a private school, no phone, no TV, no movies, and he stuck to that. And then we changed him to a new school. His classmate took him home. He found YouTube, gaming, and yes, we got him a job at the beach, working at a surf shop. It's my wife's partner in another business. My wife gives the partner the money. He pays the kid, right? He works from 8 to 2. He does nothing. He sweeps. He takes out the garbage, carries food. And yesterday, he disappeared for 4 hours. Where did you go? His mother said, oh, he said he went home, but you weren't home. So he went to the neighbor's house. He was playing with the kids. When he came home, I said, where did you go? Oh, I stayed at football practice. I was there from 6 to 8. And I said, what did you do from 9 to 12? Oh, I went to the Dinmar and I had a candy bar. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
You have such a beautiful soul, and so grateful for all that you have been able to do to help. You, in reflection, what do you think was the thing that brought you from the place of hurt and anguish to the place of healing and giving? Was it the meditation? Was it the awareness of this is no longer taking a hold of me? I understand it. It's in my past. What was the secret?
This just came to me this morning when I was. There's a book called I think it's For Men. It's a Jungian book, and the man describes that every man comes to life with intellect first, feeling first, spiritual first, or intuition. For me, it's spiritual and then intuition and feeling. Now, I did an astrology chart, and maybe I forget, but anyway, the woman said, wow, you have a really wild chart. You have 8 or 9 fire signs. You have no water. Water is emotion. My mother was emotionally shut off. So either the spigot is on full blast or it's totally shut off, right? My father's mother was very spiritual. She was amazing. My grandfather, who I'm named after, died of pneumonia and left 4 sons, and she raised them all herself. This was in, And she would go to church every morning. She would walk to church, and she'd work 2 or 3 jobs. And I just had an amazing connection with her. I went to Catholic school, but when I came here, I didn't think God existed, and I prayed to God. I was on a mountain one time. They said we're going to take this mountain, and there's going to be a lot of casualties. They're dug in on top of this mountain. We go up there. There's nobody there, so it's like, yeah, party time. But they had these little holes. They were Vietnamese dug, so they were about this big. And all of a sudden, we start getting hit with mortars, and I'm praying to God. I'll take down my Playboy pinups in my.
I'll be a good boy.
Get me out of this one. And but after going going home, I was really disconnected in to everything. You know, I was I was drunk, and so I guess I just wanted to feel good. You know, I just wanted to feel normal. You know, and I would have these like days of, you know, peace, and I used to spend a lot of time in nature. My worst 3 or 4 years of PTSD was I was working in a school for kids that were thrown out of normal school. They were at risk, and I worked in that school. It was hell. I mean, there were fist fights, and a kid got killed running across the street. You know, one of the popular kids. I mean, it was just a nightmare. And one day on the way to that school, I got rear-ended by 2 cars. 3 weeks later, I'm coming back from New York from my therapy session. I was alone in the car. I get rear-ended by 2 cars. And it set me off. PTSD big time. The world is unsafe. The world is unsafe. I quit my job, and I lived on credit cards. At one point, I had over $30,000 in credit debt. And so I, I could figure out how much money I could spend for the month, you know, charging my card to the limit again. And it was hell. And my wife knew I was, you know, she kept telling me to move out. And then when, you know, somebody rescued me, a friend of mine who was a cop said, I can get you a job. And, you know, but it was 4 o'clock in the morning, so I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to leave my house by 4, to drive 1 hour to Port Newark. Nobody beats the Wiz. It was a big electronics firm, and they had all of these gang lords and, you know, troubled people. And they were stealing laptops. It was a fucking crazy place. And so that kind of get me back on my feet a little bit. And then I got fired from that job because it was a Friday night. There was nobody there. I told everybody to search the building. Anybody there? Nobody's there. I said, okay, set the alarm and leave. There was a guy in the bathroom, and he set the alarm off. And my buddy called me and said the alarm was off, somebody was in there. So first thing Monday morning, my boss calls me in, and he said, sorry, I have to let you go. And it hit me right here in the solar plexus. I actually felt it. And after I said, thanks, because I was miserable. And that led me to the 6-month retreat.
There you go.
So, you know, I always say, you never know. You can never curse what's going to happen to you. Because
everything's a lesson.
Everything's a lesson, a blessing, a right turn, left turn, a U-turn, whatever.
Yes, I agree. I tell that to my guys all the time. Everything that happens to you can be a benefit. You just have the right lens to see it.
Right.
You have any words of wisdom for them? I'm treating guys in like 30s, 40s, and 50s coming back from the Afghanistan, Iraq stuff, and you know, struggling in not so different ways. You know, finding the self, finding purpose, finding identity,
Right.
finding sobriety, finding meaning in relationship. You've done so remarkably well in impacting positive impacts on so many lives since your own struggle. What would you like to, you know, offer in wisdom to folks going through this?
Well, I think being in nature is healing. You know, walking anywhere, or walking in the woods, or hiking mountains, doing something that challenges you. And it, you know, like we said, the mountain is a steep hill sometimes, but when you get to the top, you have this beautiful view, and you have this satisfaction. You did it, you know, and all the people that say you couldn't do it, You know, don't listen to what people say. You know, people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know, helping people. You know, you don't have a lot of money, okay, but you can help an old person, you know, shop, or you know, somebody in the neighborhood that needs some lawn work, or you know, even little things. They they make others feel good, and you feel good too. You know, I feel for people in this country. I was here in COVID when my neighbors didn't have food. They 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 didn't have food, and me and my wife would buy food and drop off bags of food for them. And the women would be very thankful, but the men, it was like, you know,
Bruce to the ego.
roosted ego. But they're my friends now. I mean, they can get past it. But you know, a lot of people that didn't expats that found out ways to help people. Like, they would go to a restaurant that was closed, and they say, okay, we are going to ask you to make 30 meals. You make 30 meals and we will pay you. And then he sets up a little thing in his house, in his garden, and the people line the street, and they come and they get food. And you know, or you know, this organization, Chia, that I work for. She's got amazing karma, this woman. She has Crocs, Timberlands, Parkland. They give her like 1,000 pairs of shoes. You know, misfits. You know, they're not perfect. And we go and we give them to people that work
Oh,
in rice fields. You know, $120
yeah,
shoes.
right. Oh,
And
all the good that we can do.
yeah, I mean, there's so many things we don't know about that can help. You know, I, I used to have a friend here. He was a French Foreign Legion. He had a big white beard, bald head, and I would dress him up as Santa Claus, and would go to Kian Foundation and give the kids candy, or moon cakes or something like that. And man, it was like the best, the best.
Oh, I'd love to stay in touch with you if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure,
I,
sure.
I think my project is an ongoing thing that I'm looking at in what I said earlier, in that, you know, some people just have such an amazing resiliency, wisdom, determination, whatever, all the positive words you can find, and, you know, superlatives to describe a person that really changes what story I usually say, like, you know, is the life happening to you, or is life happening, you know, by you, or is life happening as through you? You know,
Right,
there's like different layers of who we can be. And it's like, you
right,
know, the victim mindset is life is happening to me,
right.
right? And then life happening by you is you're doing things, but through you is just like a whole different layer of being impactful and adding so much more meaning and purpose. And I appreciate your time tremendously.
Yeah,
I
you're
appreciate
welcome.
your candidness and all the story you're sharing. This is just the beginning. I hope for more, and
Okay.
that's okay. Only because I have to go with Laylee to the hospital, and we're meeting the psychiatry department.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something that I'm very curious about, considering it's the profession and how we compare and contrast to what the
Yeah,
culture is like and what are people getting for care here looks like. You
yeah,
know? They were a little skittish. They were like, "Who are you? Why are you coming?" So
yeah.
I'm not sure if they'll hear me.
I would say one thing about that. This country, especially the medical system, is all about giving pills, all about medication. The girlfriend that got pregnant, and there was one time when we broke up, she went to a psychiatrist, and he gave her stuff that you would get in a psychiatric hospital. I forget. I forget the name of it, but like, and I said, absolutely do not take that shit. Do not take that shit. And I think that's very common, you know. In this culture, if I get a cold, And people say, aren't you going to the hospital? Aren't you going to the doctor? I say, no, I'm not. I can heal myself. My body can heal myself. And my wife is the same way. There's nothing that cannot be cured with herbals. I just went through 2 months of acupuncture treatment.
Oh, speaking my language.
Every day, the man came to my house at 6 o'clock in the morning and treated me, and it changed many things in my
Not just pain, but emotional stuff, no?
It can get yeah. Well, there's no difference. You know, the physical pain is emotional pain.
Well said. Well said.
It's
My acupuncture teacher would be happy to hear that. Yeah. He's an interesting guy. Helped us all out.
okay. We're friends.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. A pleasure and
Yeah.
a gift to me, really, truly. I appreciate and I'm in deep gratitude for this.
Well, thanks for the question.
Yeah, and I hope it won't be the last time we see each other. I'm going to come back to Da Nang often with Lei Li and we'll do more and hopefully we're going to have more coffees again in the future.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou.
Okay.